Ever since Charlie Kirk's shooting and him being gunned down, more and more, unfortunately, even Catholics, even Christians, are weaponizing the narrative by calling for more gun control. And I'm going to tell you this, that's an asinine position to hold, and that shows a tremendous historical ignorance. And I want to talk about that. I'm Marcus Peter. So, some time ago, we saw the Annunciation shooting that happened, and then Charlie Kirk's death and the Evergreen shooting. And so now people are pushing the narrative of gun control. I want to make sure we highlight what's really going on, because that's a knee-jerk response that's grounded in toxic empathy. And those people have no idea what they're talking about. I came from Malaysia. And if you don't know what Malaysia is, look it up as a nation. British Commonwealth nation. And give or take about 350 gun deaths annual. You might think, that's a small number. And Malaysia has tremendously strict gun control laws. I want to put this into perspective for you. Tremendously strict gun control laws, one of the harshest in the world. And yet 350 deaths or so a year. I personally have a friend whose father was gunned down while we were in college. Malaysia is a nation where it's impossible to legally obtain a firearm. You get where I'm going with this. Everywhere we've seen that wherever guns are taken away from the hands of virtuous individuals, we see an escalation of illegal gun violence. India, same deal. Strict licensing laws, yet 3 to 5 gun deaths per 100,000. Philippines, 9 to 11 per 100,000. Brazil, so heavily restricted that you have to undergo tests before you can even get a firearm. And even then, the government might reject you. 19 to 21. All of this outpaces the U.S. Guatemala, Venezuela, El Salvador, Honduras. All of them, some of the strictest gun restriction laws in the world. And yet some of the highest gun violence situations in the world as well. The U.S., reportedly, according to the Gun Violence Archive, has about 15,000 annual, give or take, intentional gun violence. And this is factoring for certain things, including suicides and whatnot. And the reason why I want to highlight this is because if you and I take this into proportion, what we are going to see is the U.S., sure, you can talk about it leading the world in terms of gun violence, and everyone's horrified by school shootings. But the truth of the matter is, proportionately, it is in cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. And these are cities with some of the harshest gun control laws in the country. So it really does raise the question, is it guns that are the problem, or people with criminal mindsets that are the problem? Everyone talks about Australia having found the perfect solution, the magic bullet solution. In 1996, the government issued a buyback. They bought about 650,000 guns back. You know what has happened since then? And by the way, this is verified. The Australian Institute of Criminology actually noted this. Ever since the buyback, violent crimes increase, not just knife, but also gun crimes increase, and the illegal firearms surge. The Australian Crime Commission reported this. The illegal firearms trade surged like rockets. Gun buybacks are a symbolic gesture. Take a look at every nation on the planet. They affect the law-abiding, but they never affect the criminally violent. Disarming citizens never disarms criminals. Violence just shifts forms. And so I want to take us then to the text of the Founding Fathers. In the Second Amendment, our founders wrote, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Now you might think, okay, but every life is precious. I completely agree with you. Herein lies the issue. Because our lives are precious, we have an obligation to stand against a tyrannical government. We stand as a final militia, as a stance against a government that could potentially become so overreaching that it becomes tyrannical, and at that point, your life simply won't matter. We've seen this throughout history. Madison emphasized that the armed citizenry is a final safeguard against tyranny, and I could go on and on. But what I want to highlight is this. If you want to solve the gun epidemic, it is not a matter of arguing against the Second Amendment. You've got to talk about what's causing this. The chief reason for this is fatherlessness. The one contagion amongst all gang violence that can be seen is fatherless homes. It's one of the highest statistics ever. In black families, just under 25% of people come from homes with fathers. That means over 75% come from fatherless homes. And that has a direct correlation to gang violence. there's also a social contagion of mental illness, and we as a society enable it. And yes, transgenderism is included in that. But I'm also talking about the widespreadness of mental illness that we enable as progressive ideology. The solution is not disarming, my friends. The solution is reclaiming a nation of virtue, of morality, and therefore of faith in Christ Jesus, so that we understand the dignity of human life. And if parents and fathers can inculcate that into children, we will see a shift in the tide, because it's really armed, virtuous citizens and properly trained guards that protect the innocent. I also want to highlight this. There are a few things in the nation that kill us every year way worse than gun violence, and this is crucial perspective. Driving-related accidents kills about 50,000, 55,000 a year, depending on the statistics of that year. We're not going to ban motor vehicles, are we? But medical errors, my friends, doctors, by means of medical errors, kill 250,000 to 400,000 people annually. And this was Johns Hopkins. They reported this in 2016. Are we going to ban doctors? I mean, that statistic is more than 10 times higher than the gun death-related ratio, and that's annual. I think we seriously need to rethink our logic here. Park the toxic empathy aside and start thinking about what's reasonable, what's right, and therefore what's virtuous. And let's raise a people who are responsible and who regard the dignity of human life. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Marcus Peter.